It's a BumbleKast Mini, sponsored by Twilord.
So for a bit of fun, we're going to have to hybridize the world of Avatar and the world of Sonic. Maybe in this setting, normies can be spirit-touched humans who weren't so dramatic about it. But it's probably still best not to think about their origins. In the last In the last Airbender, Aang is the last of his kind, but also burdened with being the Avatar, who must travel the world to keep harmony among the four main tribes of man, nature, and the spirits. These two roles don't always reconcile for him as effectively as the similar combination that Knuckles is burdened with does for him. How would Knuckles cope with the seemingly irreconcilable burdens of being both the Avatar and the Guardian of the Master Emerald?
Before we even approach this seriously, I just imagine Knuckles sitting atop the Master Emerald like Aang sits upon his little air bubble and using it as a scooter. Like the whole gym just around with like magic powers or something. And that tickles me. I am entertained by this notion. Anyway, I don't know if you could, and irreconcilable is a very good word choice because the entire crux of Knuckles' duty is the loneliness and the isolation. He is on an island that is nigh inaccessible, guarding a gem that really hasn't moved around much, and if it has, it's been on the same piece of flying real estate. Whereas Aang and any Avatar's duty is dependent on world travel. You could maybe spin it as Knuckles moves the island from place to place, perhaps divines where he needs to go through some spiritual connection with the Master Emerald, descends to do his job, and then has to ascend again with this lingering concern of every time he's off the island, something could go wrong. But while he's on the island, something could still go wrong. So I imagine he would largely be the same character-wise, just a little extra grumpy.
That's hard. How do you make Knuckles even more grumpy than he already is?
Well, you make him the Avatar.
Oh, okay. Other than the Boom version of him, which is he's a very happy guy then.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot to worry or think about, so he doesn't.
Boom Knuckles, I can absolutely see doing the little two spinny air balls in that palm trick.
Yes.
That big dumb smile.
Yes. Yeah, Boom Knuckles would be a fun avatar. A little, possibly, maybe, slightly incompetent, but, his heart's in the right place. I can't help picturing Blaze as Azula, the perfectionist fire princess, and Shadow as Zuko, redeemed hero of evil blood, in an almost storybook manner. Naturally, Blaze wouldn't follow through on that kind of villainy, though. Is it weird to picture Blaze in a villainous role, given that when you get right down to it, she is not only just another hero on the edgier than Sonic side of the soft to edgy scale like Knuckles and Shadow, but the one who was least villain-coded at introduction?
I don't know about least villain-coded, because she's more or less wearing something akin to Eggman's outfit. I mean, at a glance, you have the longer pants under the flared coat at top. When she was first introduced, I'm like, the parallels are there. Is there a connection? No, there was not. And she was extremely antagonistic from the get-go. So it's not hard to envision a other timeline where Blaze was strictly villainous, to keep that standoffish attitude, the remorselessness in when she's excising her power and passing judgment. She doesn't meet Cream. Sure, I could see that. I could see that route. You could do that. You could even maybe just take that core idea and spin it off into a new character as a reflection of Blaze herself. So a villainous Blaze, not too hard, with a couple little tweaks here and there. Azula-styled Blaze, that is a bridge too far for me, just because Azula reveled in her power and her authority over others. Not just her station, but the misery and the insurmountable command she had over individuals' lives and actions. There was a pettiness, there was a sadism there that I cannot attribute to Blaze, even if you take her in the worst possible faith. Blaze has too much integrity. She's too businesslike for
that. Yeah, no. Blaze seems kind of like she actually doesn't enjoy her powers and doesn't necessarily enjoy her station, or she at least takes them way too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So
they are facts of life to her, at most.
Yeah. Makes more sense to me that way. Let's run with that mental image of Knuckles being the Avatar while still having to be the guardian of the Master Emerald. For the sake of making it a bit easier on the poor lad, though, let's assume that the White Lotus are helping him protect the Emerald while he trains. Which Sonic characters do you think would make the most fun trainers for Knuckles for each element, all living together on Angel Island? And which of them has the easiest job given Knuckles' disposition?
We're kind of mixing things up pretty heavily here, because the White Lotus wasn't really there to train Aang. From what I remember, they were kind of a secondary entity to the Avatar in all he did. They were more of a benevolent Illuminati.
Yeah, they're not helping him train, though. They're just watching the Emerald while he is off training.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what...
All right, so they clock in while he goes to do...
Yeah. Iroh's watching the Master Emerald while Knuckles is off doing his thing. Although
Iroh do the guarding, that's probably better than overall.
Although White Lotus trained Korra, so... But...
Okay.
Korra is different slightly, so...
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, point is, Avatar Nux getting training from other characters.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine Sonic would be an Air Master, just with the themes of freedom and wind and movement behind him. I know Tails is kind of like what you would think of first because, flight.
Right.
But Sonic's attitude, his very breezy nature, I think lends himself to that discipline. And the absolute at odds the two of them would be delightful. Sonic's idea of just go with the flow and move with the wind would be counterintuitive to Knuckles' more steadfast, here is my duty, here is where I draw the line, I will not move. Knuckles I see as being just innately earthbender material. So earth and air are already kind of at odds. Who would train him? I don't know if he would even need to be trained. But heck, if we need an excuse to bring in Mighty, why not? Mighty's your earthbender for Knuckles to learn from.
They're just good bros.
Mighty conveys the idea that yes, stone is hard and unyielding, but that can also mean as a protective barrier. It can also mean tranquility. The mountain does not bow to the storms. You don't have to rage against it. Sure, you hit like a truck, but you can also idle for a bit. Take it easy, man. There is a serenity to be found in Earth, not just strength or hardness. I know you were already kind of passing off Blaze in the Azula role, but we're going to ignore that and say Azula's the firebender.
That's right.
No, Blaze is the firebender.
Of course, yeah, she is.
Because, yeah, she is, and her very businesslike and methodical and restrained approach to her abilities would be something that Knuckles would resonate with. She would, understand the incredible power that she possesses and not, just dole it out to Knuckles. She would have a regimen. She would have a structured way of teaching it. And that he might find a bit tedious. He'd want to just kind of confidently get into the level 300 classes rather than start at Burn Things 101.
Mm-hmm.
But there would be a kind of respect there that I think he could get in sync with. And comedy option, Marine's the waterbender. And she just has so much fun throwing water at things and helping her sail. And, oh, yeah, I guess you could use it for Kung Fu. Sure, why not? Here, let's go find pirate treasure, and I'll show you how to throw water at things. That'll be great.
Yeah. That's not the joke answer. That's the real answer. Marine is the answer to all our problems.
Crikey, you can use all the elements. That's not fair. Teach me some too. Not the avatar. Well, let me be an avatar as well. You can't do that's the rules. Who says? I don't know.
The planet, the universe. Let Marine be the avatar, take it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Jet the Hawk associates himself with the air quite a bit, but in Avatar lore, the element of air has associations that are basically the opposite of everything Jet is. Would Jet be a skilled airbender through some twisted interpretation of the element, or very salty that he had this rare power and couldn't use it properly?
Oh, sure, he'd be an airbender easy peasy. This is more of a light side, dark side of the Force. You know, how Korra was able to get over her issue of not learning airbending when she stopped trying to be the detached and loose airbender and just learned how to punch tornadoes. You know, it's a different mentality. So, like Sonic, Jet is one who lives freely. He lives by his own accord. He goes where he wants to go when he wants to go there, and he's going to show off while doing it. The air is a very apt metaphor for him. So he would travel with it. He would show off with it. He would rob with it. You know, it would be his to command, but it would still be that free-flowing and surprisingly forceful element in his hands.
If Blaze is storybooked as Azula, then it makes sense to me that the Fire Nation would have the Soul Emeralds. But that leads to a complex side effect of this scenario world melding. Which nation would get the Chaos Emeralds, and what do the other two nations get?
Here, I don't think you benefit from being too strict with either canon. If you're going to go silly with the lore, you might as well just go all out.
Yeah.
So maybe the aspect is the Chaos Emeralds are chaotic in their placement, and therefore they could be found anywhere in the world. Whereas the Fire Nation, with their rigidity and their attempts of acquiring power for conquest, fashion their own soul emeralds or have their own unique sets for some reason. And that way they are employing the overwhelming might upon the others, whereas the Knuckles gang would be looking for the counter to that, which are the emeralds, which are around the world, which are held by different nations or tribes or sections that have to be coerced or bartered or befriended, and necessitates a world journey in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, that would make some sense. Although I think it would be interesting if the remains of the air tribe, for some reason, had the time stones. I don't know. Just these mystical sort of things that otherwise don't exist, or otherwise don't. The Chaos Emeralds don't seem to have time travel powers or anything. So, but that might be getting way too far into
chaos control.
That may be getting way too far into the weeds. But just a thought I had. When I picture Blaze and Shadow as those two siblings, then it becomes very easy to picture Eggman Naga as Fire Lord Ozai and Gerald Robotnik as Fire Lord Sozin. But I'm not sure if Eggman himself really works for Iroh. Iroh feels like either the commander got mellowed in his old age, like I suspect a lot of us want from him after playing expert mode, or, more playfully, Big the Cat with a much darker past. So, if you're doing a storybook-style casting, who gets to be Iroh? One of those three, or someone else? Or by making a mistake with the rest of this family?
I mean, it is tempting to go with Big. Did I ever tell you why I was called the Dragon of the West? I'm not here for stories, Uncle. It's more of a demonstration. And one could argue Big, not just for the pot belly and the whiskers, but because he is generally more laid back, but commands incredible power. which is part of what Iroh's deal was.
Yes.
But if we're talking more characterization, I would draw a stronger parallel with Gerald as someone who is older and gentler in nature and is driven by tragedy, who is capable of great destructive power, but at his core is a man of peace. It's not a perfect one-to-one, but I don't think you can get that. And also in terms of pure grandiose conquest, Eggman is Ozai well before Nega is.
Yep. Oh, man. That's terrifying, though, still. Oof. The philosophies of each of the 4 main cultures of Avatar's world are all informed by the spiritual and emotional requirements of bending their element to the fullest extent. Which, so far unplaced Nermies, would you imagine as being from which of the 4 nations? I am particularly curious about Starline.
I think you could almost make a case for any nation with Amy, so we're going to go the Sokka route with her. She has her boomerang. She has her hammering?
I mean, why not?
She has both. She has a weapon and is just a particularly skilled individual. She has her own natural strength within this world of crazy peoples. Tails... I mean, I don't want to say airbender just because he flies. That's too easy. But he is Sonic's protege, and he is driven to find greater heights. So, yeah, okay, fine. Airbender for Tails. Let's see. I don't want to go through, like, every single character ever, but Tangle, waterbender. Very go with the flow, very mercurial in her own right, and double bending with both hands and tail. She's a nightmare. Or let me back up a second and say Amy Earthbender, just because of that unshakable core that she has, that steadfastness, and like I was saying earlier with Mighty, the stoniness as a protector of others rather than just a bashing force, and go Whisper as the bendless one. But she has some kind of like stolen Fire Nation tech that allows her to channel special elemental spirits for various effects. Shadow Firebender, who is just so zeroed in on what he wants to do and has to do. He's a lightning bender as well. I think that one kind of speaks for itself.
Also, Surge would be... I think Surge fits the Azula archetype way more.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Right on the money.
Yep.
And let's see, Rouge. Rouge is almost kind of in the same vein as Jet. Not being one to be tied down, and not whether that's physically or in terms of allegiances or by any kind of law of man. She would be flitting around and, swooping between shadows.
Mm-hmm.
I'd see her being airbender as well.
And
that puts her at odds with an inherently earthbender Knuckles, so there you go.
Yeah. Kit is the inventor of bloodbending.
Oh, God.
I mean...
But,
terrifying, yes, but...
And Starline is also a non-bender, but it was his tech that Whisper stole.
I was going to say, he works for the Fire Nation. He's like
he's the
main research guy.
He's the mad scientist.
Yep.
He's the mad scientist who figures out how to artificially induce bending. He's the one who kind of taught Kit to bloodbend.
Yeah.
Because that'll never bite him in the tail.
Ooh. Eesh. Vector sells cabbages.
Damn it, you beat me to the joke.
Oh, okay. Well, the chat did, but still.
That's literally the next question, guys. You stole my thunder.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, okay. Well, let's do it anyway. Why not? In Avatar The Last Airbender, there was the recurring joke of the cabbage salesman having his livelihood destroyed because he happened to be standing in the background of an action scene involving the main cast. After noticing they'd smashed Cabbage Man's sales stand several times, how would Sonic, Tails, Amy, Silver, and Styx each react?
And the cabbage salesman is the Chaotix in this scenario.
Oh, well, yes. All three of them.
My cabbages! Let's see. If Sonic noticed, he might be just on the move, but he'd kind of swirl all the cabbages up into a neat little pile before skedaddling. Tails would be extremely apologetic and take the time to build a sturdier cabbage wagon. Amy, likewise, mortified by the destruction, would stick around to at least help gather up the cabbages, maybe finance a new cart if she had the money on her. Silver would be chagrined, sure, and would gather up all the cabbages with his TK powers. Maybe that's... airbending is too common with these Sonic characters. It works too easily. He's a cabbage bender, all right? And then something distracts him and he runs off and they all go falling all over the place again. And Styx is just happy with the free cabbages. Just buffet.
Silver could be a waterbender.
Yeah.
Could still work. Either way. And Styx could be cool. She could be Styx. Because, I mean, what else does she need to be?
See her either going Earthbender or being another Sokka.
Mm-hmm.
Either way.
Yeah.
She is a bender of some kind, but she doesn't show it off because she doesn't want you to know. That's her business. What are you trying to do? ID her? No. That's why she has all these tools. You'll never know what her bending is.
Aha! We've discussed the possibility of Knuckles being the Avatar, but there is one other character who I think would make an excellent Avatar to follow across 4 seasons. Which elements would Styx excel at, and which would she struggle with? Okay.
There's your alternate. Styx is the Avatar who rejected the call, and that's why I had to go to Knuckles. Styx, I see as being just eerily adept at each, because she, unlike anyone else who tries to find a way to control it or has to link to it spiritually, she is so in touch with her base nature and nature around her that it comes to her naturally.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to command anything. She understands that nature is what it is, and it just responds to what she particularly wants in this scenario. Maybe she's not overly fond of fire, that burns things, and she typically doesn't like to burn things. A lot of her stuff is flammable, but if need be, sure, she'll spit fire on somebody.
I mean, it's effective. We all know that the 4 nations are all very proud of their elements, but if they had Digimon partners, they might reveal unwelcome elemental affinities for their tamers. Given that Digimon are often envisioned as spirit aliens from another plane that our artificial plane of cyberspace made contact with, it would make sense that such a spiritually loaded world might understand them more easily than we do. How would Ozai react if pre-banishment Zuko had a partner who digivolved into a fire monster, but Azula had one who expressed a different element? Ice Devimon, perhaps? A champion-level devil with ice powers?
I don't see Azula attuning to anything but fire.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, she was very cold and merciless, where I'm thinking you get the ice filament with, but Azula is driven by consumption and by power. She is an overwhelming, scorching force. Like, her firebending went blue because she puts that much power into the flames. It isn't just about throwing the flames or causing the heat and the burning. She is out there to flambe. Like, she isn't just about fire because that is what their family does. She likes that power, that all-consuming, nigh unstoppable destructive force. She revels in it, and there is that barely contained wildness to it. So I figure she'd be some kind of fire Digimon thingy, easy peasy. Like, she's learning how to walk, and she has some upper level Digicritter that you can't stand within 20 feet of, or you get blisters kind of hot. Like, I figured she'd be right on the money.
I'm being suggested that she would have Blue Marimon, which is like an extremely powerful flame type Digimon.
Sure.
So it's blue. It has blue flame. So it's like super hot. Looks pretty badass, actually. If that were following a child around, I'd definitely be frightened.
It's Zuko who I think might get something off-brand. Like maybe he gets some base level partner that could potentially go fiery or watery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what got Ozai kind of eyeing going, that boy ain't right.
Nice.
Question for you, Kyle.
Uh-oh.
I'm pretty sure you've seen this show, Kyle.
Yes.
If not, then I'm kind of curious what you made of this whole discussion. Feel free to talk about that instead. However, assuming I am correct in thinking that you have, what was your favorite moment in Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I have seen it. I love it very much. And Korra as well. Also enjoyed Korra, despite all its flaws. And there are many. There are also quite a few flaws in the original Avatar too, but I think it masks them better, comes together a little better overall. But anyway, that's not what this question's about. This question is about the favorite moment. My favorite moment is when Toph points at something, says, "Look over there!" And everyone else looks at it, and where she's pointing, and it's nothing. And then she does that goofy thing. She looks at him with the goofy thing and waves her hand in front of her eyes. Because she's blind. Oh, I love Toph, really. That's really what it comes down to. My favorite moment in the show is Toph.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a long moment. She's there for over half of it, but still. Toph is my spirit animal in so many ways. I still love the play in season 3 too. Like, it's so goofy. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I love that Toph in the play is a giant man. Yes.
That's perfect.
The Ember Island players, yes. There we go. Oh, man. Sokka is also great. Sokka and Toph are like the true all-stars of Avatar. I do quite enjoy them. Although the beach episode with Azula in the beach episode is very funny. I do like it. I like it very much. I like his show. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great show. That's all I can really say. It's got a lot of great moments, and it's just overall a really good one. So, thank you for this episode. It was a fun episode, Twilord.
Yeah, if you want a BumbleKast Mini of your own, head over to patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or become a YouTube member. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
Catch you next time, Melon Lord.